Yes, you have. You have been doing that in the background. So actually, in this case, then why don't we? Here, I'll turn off our sit back and relax here as we'll slip into things. So I guess you could also speak for Kazimir a little bit here, Selene, because your paths certainly intersected. Would you like to give a recap of current events from Selene's point of view?
Sure. So currently, Kazimir and he's been a massive help, by the way, are currently in the Temple of Ouijas, healing people, healing and triaging and doing all sorts of things whilst I attempt to find out information about the current emergency that is unfolding. Unfortunately, we don't have anything like like an alert system.
I'll actually take
Um,
you here to your temple as you're talking about this.
and I'm still waiting for the High Priest to show up so that I may have a chat with him
Yes.
regarding some things. And then I need to have a bit of a rest. I am rather tired, and then I need to get out there and do some investigation for myself. I'm sure Casimir feels the same.
Yeah, Casimir's had quite a day. I mean, being turned into salt, and then being unturned into salt, and
So almost being carved up by some tieflings.
tap tap
I was like, yeah, no, 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 tap tap, no
tap
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 tap. Tap.
tap 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 tap.
Although it does seem to me that I need to become more conversant in the infernal, so that will be something that I will be looking at in the near future.
All right. So Casimir's pretty much going to chime in by saying "ditto" to what Selene said, and beautiful summary, Casimir. Thank you very much. And we'll let's move to investigator Jacob Stillwaters. As we move from the setting of this sort of triage unit, hospital slash morgue, we're going to be going to one of the jails that are in Mask of Horns here. This looks very dungeony, although I assure you, finding finding a resource of exactly what I was looking for would have been very difficult. So I said this looks like a jail. We're in jail. Although you took her more to a holding cell, so that's where we're at when it comes to this. But we'll see if we have to go down below ground a little bit more. It's always an option. Anyway, Jacob, over to you.
Yes, well, it ends up being quite the interesting day, as it were. We've managed to end up gain some information from this Gwendolyn individual. She seems to be, well, a few things I would like to clarify, but she is, for the most part, serving on a military trade vessel, a merchant primarily, who, upon the wild cherry, yes, well, they were delivering supplies to Oldport. What business they have in Oldport, I'm somewhat confused about. Nevertheless, the Man of War attacked. They were controlling or apparently involved with the entity we had clashed with not too long ago. They claim that the ship was on its own. No fleet, though unfortunately we're not at the wreckage to be able to confirm or deny, so at this point that is speculative. They seem to have their wits about them. That seems to be the important thing. It'd be a lot easier if it was something wild, an animal of some sort, but this... I can confirm that sunlight does in fact affect her, and, well, at this point I'm only going off of what lore I might know through rumor mill. Though I am kind of curious if it's true that milk of the poppy is lethal poison. Several different questions to be brought. Still, I am now being escorting my assailant would be the appropriate word. I would hate to say prisoner, because that would not, in all technicality, be correct. Suffice it to say, though, she is under my watch for the time being, until I can gain appropriate answers to complete my report. The fact that the town is burning has left me in a bit of conundrum, because I need to be able to end up going out there to assist, while brothers in arms in the Mask of Horns, more than capable individuals, certainly so, but unfortunately, duty would have been binding me to finishing this particular point, though it seems that many of the individuals, especially that one at the front desk, seems to be very hand-wavy about their current role in all this. Order must be maintained, and unfortunately, it seems around here discipline is sorely lacking. I am sorry to say here.
Yeah, that desk sergeant definitely wasn't going by the book right now.
If I was a more free-spirited individual like my sister, then, well, she'd be using colorful language to describe the gentleman. I will simply end up referring to him as inept.
Very well. If you do get too disappointed, Investigator Stillwaters, in the break room, I'm sure there's a recent issue of the Sensible Chuckle magazine that you can enjoy. All right, so now we are going to go from one part of town to the next, as we had Mordecai and Bright, who stuck around here, did a little prodding, poking, and such. Mordecai, I will let you start your point of view, or I mean your plural point of view, or just whatever, the singular and the plural, and then we'll end up with Bright. So what is going on with Mordecai?
Well, entering back into the city and finding that there is a giant tower in the middle of the city that wasn't there before, and it's on fire, that's concerning. So, as many people would do, I guess, we went to investigate and figure out what was going on, because Bright later told us that this was the place where Mr. Halver's tower was. I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Yes.
Yeah. If this is Mr. Halver's kind of house, kind of ejected, but not, because it wasn't here before. And when it comes to things like pocket dimensions and things of that sort, I have very little experience. So that's weird. But the fact that it's on fire and that water doesn't seem to be putting the fire out, that's concerning. And I haven't really had... It's one of those things that kind of seems like a deterrent for tieflings. Like, nobody wants to get near it. And I'm kind of prone to that.
Well, yeah, tieflings seem to be getting some sort of a guttural reaction from it.
Yeah, it kind of uneases me. And I am concerned about that. So yeah, it's kind of figuring out different things. I'm at a loss. I'm not an investigator. I'm not exactly the best at putting clues together, but Bright seems to be a little better at that than I do.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say you're traveling with Bright, the inquisitive gnome. Here, in a private eye extraordinaire, or at least that one time she was. And so if you'd like to pass the ball over, although I will say, before we do, if nothing else, let's look at this optimistically, Mordecai. unless every single one of those tieflings you observed was also a vampire, this might mean that perhaps you're not... I mean, you're a vampire, but you're still a tiefling, right? You still got your emotions swirling around a little bit.
I've always kind of assumed that, so... Tieflingness doesn't necessarily change physically, from what I understand. Everyone who is a vampire kind of looks the same as they would her, except undead.
Then let's go over to Investigator Bright. What's up? Or down?
Yeah, so down is me, I'm down here. And up is the tower, it's up there, and there's also a big black sphere up there. So now that we've established that, so yeah, things have been kind of strange here. Oh, I think I have a frog in my throat. Not an actual frog, of course I wouldn't do that. But
Hopefully not Pegasus.
Is it a familiar feeling?
No, oh no.
I'm sorry.
Oh no. Okay. So on that note, I have nothing else to add. So the I mean we pretty much figured out what this thing is to a first approximation. I mean, we know it's Mr. Halver's old place, and we know that it was hidden and now it's come unhidden. Probably, I don't know, it's probably because he died, but I don't know. I mean, it didn't happen right away after he died, so something else must have triggered it. We don't know about that part yet. And also, we know that there's little echoes of Mr. Halver floating around, and they're asking a riddle that we know the answer to, but now that we know the answer to it, we can't just to even translate it. And now that we have translated it, no one wants to ask the riddle anymore. So that's kind of annoying. It's just, we know all the pieces, but we can't put them together. That's the usual thing. Okay, that's all I'm done.
All right, then. Case closed. All right, so yes, we ending the synopsis will actually pick up here because you all were doing some kicking around. Bright, you did uncover a mouse who was maybe a witness to this crime event or a criminal event, if you want to combine the two, and you did promise to trade it some grain,
lots of oats
for something shiny, because you know what, you really made a connection with this mouse, and quite frankly, it was kind of paranoid because there's been people taking a lot of stuff from this area that aren't just mice. There's other people too.
That's a pretty nice mouse.
As far as mice go. So that's your day has been wearing on. Are you wishing to go and find the others? Do you want to secure a room somewhere? What is your plan, Bright and or Mordecai? Since you've been, the tower isn't being consumed any more than it already has been. And after you've been doing this for a while, the initial, people are still coming to just watch, especially now that it's getting dark. And you have these odd, black flames that are coming out of it. Not smoke, but actual just sort of a black fire. What's your plan?
Is it getting dark already? I didn't think it was that late in the day.
Well, no, you arrived early, but this was, you were kind of kicking tires, you're investigating, snooping around. Unless there's something else you wanted to do, that's fine. Because Selene and Kazimir are kind of on, well, we're doing this all day until everyone comes back to the temple, sort of a thing. And so yeah, if I'm fast forwarding for you, then please stop me and tell me what you're doing instead.
Well, I don't think Mordecai and I had given up on this towering inferno just yet.
Oh, come on. I didn't say give up on it. But go ahead.
And the other thing is we also need to find a store where they sell oats. A feedlot, something like that. Or maybe, maybe just like a restaurant where we could get a bag of oats. Farmer's market. There's lots of places where you could get oats. Mm-hmm. Any of them will do.
Fortunately, there are many of these places scattered around a major city like this, so you will have your choice of oats.
Okay. Oat Mart would be perfect.
So-
I didn't know if they had a franchise in this town or not.
Well, it is a large city,
Gonna
and,
go
and
to
so
fantasy
you kind of
holders.
go into the, you get into the more like, specialized blocks. That'd be sort of our equivalent to, like a Chinatown or something, where you get those like small, like the nice international grocers, and so sure, there's a wonderful granary that has a. Have a good night, Donnie. Thank you for hanging out with us for when you had. Enjoy anime. So yes, there's a granary, and it's run by a lovely gnomish couple. Though they speak with the northern Aslandian rock gnome accent, but you can still converse in gnomish with them.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So I just So have you guys heard? Also, first of all, I'd like a big bag of oats.
Oh yeah,
The biggest-
sure.
Yeah, the full size gnome size bag, and also I would like know anything about the events that are going on over in the old part of the city. Where there's a fire.
Oh, there's been people talking.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the talking I'd like to be hearing.
Oh well, we can tell you. We can tell you what we've heard. Let's see, and they're talking back and forth, and they'll recognize you as well. Maybe it's just one of those Aslandian things where, I mean, you're there, but they're conversing. They're that and that, and so you're hearing a lot of the repetition that, again, this was an attack by the Shadowheart Empire. That this was a people are saying this is a magical experiment gone wrong. This is the work, and of course this is where they kind of lean over the counter and say, now, there's been a lot of stuff, a lot of people are talking about this is sensational. A lot of people are saying that there's undead walking around these days, and even creatures of the woods, not even just the woods, but the plants, just these foreign entities that are walking amongst us, and that somehow they're the ones responsible for this as well. And just, it's also stirred up not necessarily a lot of bad blood, because the blood between the humans and the tieflings in this town, we've noticed, have been really, they're really close. Though there is some finger pointing going on, and more or less at the tieflings instead, saying that this is some kind of a visitation from their past, or it's a part of the curse that runs in their veins, things along those lines. So it's I don't know if you buy into it. I'm not saying that I do. Look, I have tiefling friends myself. I'm not saying they're the ones responsible, because frankly, who'd want their own house to burn? I mean, that said, though, you gotta watch out, because you surprise one of them and poof, they give you the wrong eye, and things can start on fire immediately. Sometimes, perhaps not even willingly. Anyway.
I'm like that too sometimes.
Oh, you're a practitioner of the art, are you?
I mean, it's really more of a science than an art, but yeah, you can call it that.
No, yes. Well, in our own way, we can respect that. We of Aslandia, of course, are. We have our own unique set of skills. We have our own arts as well. In fact, here. Shows off a little, opens up a little music box, and it plays a little, like a very common, like North and South gnomes know the little.
Yeah, you know how to make those. That's fun. My people aren't as good at that sort of thing. We don't really make trinkets as well as you do up north.
I'll tell you, I've been looking for an opportunity. Hey, Rin Vindor, thank you very much for the raid. I've been looking for an opportunity. Once all this sort of whatever tower burning stuff going on in the city, look, it's not spreading, it's not coming here. I'm happy for that, although it's disrupted some business. But I figured that if we could perhaps, come together as a people, the Aslandia gnomes and the Uct gnomes, we could really combine our talents. For example, I'll show you. And he takes the music box and he opens. He's like, look, like a little bug, like a cricket or a cicada could go in here. And what beautiful way to accompany the music of the music box than the natural singing of a bug. It's brilliant. I don't know why anyone's not thought of it.
I mean, it sounds like you have thought of it. So here's my concern, and I think this is kind of why the people maybe split apart in the first place. But so if you put a bug in there, and then the gears all turned, couldn't the bug get smushed in the gears?
Well, if it crawled into the gears, but if it doesn't crawl into the gears, it should be absolutely fine. I mean, look.
Look, it's all gears. There's nothing in there but gears.
So just, a little modification here. I could put a twig in there to simulate its natural habitat.
Yeah. Let's put a twig in and see what happens.
Oh, it's a grand experiment. Dietums, thank you for the re-up on the subscription. And so yeah, like anything, just like magic crafting or even, animals, they gotta stumble around a little bit and learn to walk before they're functional. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting detracted. You came in here for a bag of oats.
So I did.
A gnome-sized bag of oats, you said.
Yeah, but like the size of a gnome, not the size of a gnome. If that makes sense to you?
A gnome-sized bag, not a gnome-sized bag. No, I understand, I understand.
Exactly.
Well, let's see. I think that's gonna, yeah, that's... are you gonna need to port it? I'm afraid this gnome-sized bag is gonna be, might be a little heavy for you there, ma'am.
Oh, no, it's okay. We have the proportional strength of ants.
Oh, well, yes, of course. Very well, then. I'm gonna say that this is gonna come in at, look at you. It's good to talk like this. I don't often get the... He starts kind of going off on, tangents here and there, and it tells a story about, his cousin and,
Of course.
small talk.
Which is the only kind of talk we have.
Yes, exactly. So after some intense negotiations, you managed to come out with a gnome-sized sack of oats for, we'll say, 2 silver pieces.
Okay, I have that. I don't even need change. It's so nice. Okay,
if you bring the sack back, I'll give you a partial refund. Otherwise, you got the sack with it.
Oh yeah, you always have to pay the sack deposit.
Yeah. Some cities offer it more. I think some people make a business is carting it from one to the next.
Yeah, well, and there's going to be that burlap ban, coming up.
Oh, geez.
You're going to have to watch out for that.
Yeah. He starts going on another, another sort of laissez-faire, let people invent, let businesses be and such, kind of a stream. So
If there had been enough time, I would have cast comprehend languages because I'm getting left out of this conversation.
Okay, you want to cast another? Well, how long did your first one last with the Dragonborn? An hour? Okay, sure. If you want to cast it again, that's fine.
Recast it as a ritual. Yep.
Yeah. So for the first 10 minutes, they're just kind of men. They kind of sound like the Sims talking, and then and suddenly you are aware, and this is maybe it's interesting. You're kind of learning about life from a gnome's perspective more than just Bright, but it's definitely a lot of the cousin and all this other stuff, and then of course gnomish business models and entrepreneurship, and then the subtleties between a gnome-sized bag and a gnome-sized bag, and
it actually brings back memories of his tinkering days.
Oh, did you work with lots of gnomes when you were tinkering?
The person who ran the shop was a rock gnome.
Oh, well I'm surprised you didn't learn the language. Yeah, I mean that's possible too.
Yeah.
You're an inventor as well, huh?
I dabble.
Oh, just dabble. You gotta go full in.
I've been attempting to.
Wait a minute. Am I speaking to you in Gnomish and you're replying in Common?
I suppose so, yeah.
Huh.
Tends to be a little bit of an arcane tinkerer as well.
Oh,
Yeah, he's like a language savant, except he only learns to understand them, not to speak them. It's a very weird, limited talent that he has.
oh, well, enough to pass some certificates. It makes you more employable, I suppose. Just going on another business.
He's the one-way translator.
I suppose there's a market for that somewhere. Hey, you got a gadget on you? Let me see.
No, I don't, actually. I haven't tinkered anything small enough to really carry around.
Oh,
Lately,
well,
anyway.
you poor lad. Oh, wait, hold on. He looks over to you, Bright. Is he the one porting this sack of oats for you?
Oh, we'll work on it together.
Oh, okay. All right.
Carry half of it, and then I'll carry the other half. And then we'll switch halves to make sure that it's fair.
Oh, all right.
We're a good team.
Oh, well, just like my wife and I, oh, she does so much for me. This place wouldn't, and again, he starts going into family business stuff and all this. Well, I'll tell you what, I have, bother, hang on, he toddles off, and the wife is there, is very sweet. Oh, can I get you anything? Do you need snacks, or, what food do you eat?
I'm fine. We'll grab dinner later.
Ma'am?
Oh, I'll just have a couple of oats out of the bag.
Oh. Then feel free to help yourself from the oats you purchased already.
Yeah, I was going to feel that anyway.
So you hear some clinks and clanks, and the gnome comes back, and here we go. These are some spare parts I don't need anymore. And I'll tell you what, if you really have a touch for the craft, you got a face that I can trust. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give this sack of parts to you, and you can do whatever you want with it. I mean, for all I know, you're just gonna chuck it into the ocean. But if you come back and you show me something you scraped together with all these parts, oh, I'd love to see it, and that would be payment enough, and you could just keep whatever the heck you invented. But I want to see that spark, that ingenuity, that entrepreneurship. You got to find your calling, lad. What's your calling? What do you do?
For now, I travel.
Ah, do you travel with her? Wait, are you an item?
No.
No.
We don't usually do that. No, he has somebody else, and yeah.
We're traveling musicians.
Oh, musicians!
You probably haven't heard of us. We usually call ourselves the Chroma Company.
Yeah, but really, he's the musician. I'm really more of a stage manager.
Have you all opened for the Healing Words at all?
No, I haven't seen them at all.
Yeah, but I'd really like to. I keep hearing about them everywhere we go.
Yeah, they're out touring, trying to bolster people's spirit in the face of the war.
Touring Aslandia, if I remember right.
That's where they started. Yeah, heck of a place to get your start. But if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
If they ever come to Mesomasca, I'd sure want to see them.
No, I'm sure. Everything kind of swirls the bay and ends up here, if you get what I'm saying.
I didn't catch your name.
Oh! Giori!
Sorry.
Giori!
Pleasure to meet you.
It's, it kind of looked like two O's that are kind of stretched out and connecting to each other to get that vowel in the middle. Giori!
Jewelry. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Well, the pleasure's all ours. We're happy to share it with you, though. That's a little gnomish ribbing for you. Now, take this sack of metal and bits and everything. You go have fun with it. I hope sincerely one day you come back and you show me something neat. That way, I didn't entrust you with a bag of not garbage, but look, spare parts.
I will do my best.
Hopefully you do. It wouldn't be the first time I'd be disappointed, though. Kind of looks down and away. Anyway, and then he looks back to you, Bright. You keep them in line, all right? We gotta let the tall folk know that there's other considerations to be had, other points of view.
That's right. The view from below. It's just as important as the view from above.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for all your help and for this bag of oats. And I'm sure we'll be back again. And we'll try to bring good news when we do.
As you're turning to leave, before you go, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name, Mr. Tiefling.
Oh, this is my friend Bright, and I am Mordecai Silverleaf.
Mordecai. He leans. He's leaning over his counter. Like he's obviously stepped up on like a stool or something here, because it's otherwise a normal sized counter. Can I ask? Do you have feet? I hear not all your people have feet.
I have, yes.
Now let's say you didn't have feet.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have feet, or maybe you know someone who does, and I ain't judging, what could they use on their feet to help them maybe get around some? You know, an idea.
Are we talking someone who's maybe lost their limbs, or are we talking about someone who needs boots?
Boots. From what I understand, maybe not all tieflings have,
Saying that some tieflings have cloven hooves.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but you did, so I didn't.
Well, something that might be fashionable in the west side of the island might be something along the lines of anklets.
Anklets?
Or I don't know, something boot-like, but designed specifically with that in mind.
I don't want to sound like I'm being offensive here, but, you know, for those who have their feet like that, do they wear, like, kind of horseshoe-looking things at all? Or do they wear normal boots and then they just fill in the toes with some crumpled up, like, cloth or paper?
I couldn't tell you.
Baffling. But inspirational. I'll have to research more of this. If you find out, I'd love an idea like that, and I'll get you in on it, too, if it ever becomes profitable.
Fair enough.
Of course I'm always fair. Did you see I gave her that bag of oats for 2 silver?
That's a good deal. I really appreciate it.
It's very delightful, Dylan. We definitely
Kinda,
appreciate your business, sir.
Goes back and he has some good old-fashioned, like, inventor suspenders, so of course they're probably cargo suspenders. There's a bunch of pockets on it everywhere. Lighter than, like, the photographer's vest, although what's photography, but heavier than normal suspenders. All right, now get out of here. You've given me enough of a smile. I got a reputation to maintain. A lot of people around here just know me as a grump. But I'll tell you, seeing the two of you, more particularly, Bright was your name, more particularly you, no offense to you, Mordecai, but I see a lot of your kind. I don't see many of mine.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't that many gnomes, especially here in Mesomasca. I get lonely too sometimes, but everywhere I go I'm always looking, and sometimes I'm able to make new gnome friends. I can tell you about a great restaurant down in Greenshield if you're ever down that way.
Oh, so-and-so's?
Well, they don't call it that, but probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, you know, the next time we get a vacation, then we'll go do that. But, you know, that boss is really hard on him. And, you know, he's, again, making kind of, like, bad boss jokes, bad, like, entrepreneurial jokes as well.
You haven't made your way by Oldport, have you?
By Oldport? Yeah, I get parts in through there, yeah. And other supplies. It's not that far in another big city. They do things a little differently. I look for differences. That's opportunity, my lad. Opportunity exists everywhere. There's a difference between two people, places, or things. We gnomes call them nouns. Very close to who we are.
Mm.
Some are
Just
proper,
curious.
some are abstract.
Well, we were probably heading that way soon anyway, so...
Do you need advice? Do you want to know a local restaurant? What do you eat?
No, I was just curious if you were at all familiar with the Glorious Journey Tinkerers, but
You know what? Let me boggle my mind a second. Now hold up! Did you say the Glorious what?
Glorious Journey Tinkerers.
Did you say the Glorious Journey Tinkerers?
Yep.
Of course! Yeah, we go to conventions together.
You and Broken Branch.
Oh, or at least an affiliate of his.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. A fan of the work. I try not to copy him. It doesn't always work. That's a joke.
Well, we'll get out of your hair.
Can I... Bright, he looks to you. In my hair?
Mm. Yeah, it's a tall folk expression. It means he wants to leave now.
Oh, all right. A lot of people want to rub our heads, and sometimes, the finger gets caught in a curl or something. You weren't in my hair, so.
Oh, yeah, no, it doesn't work for me, right? I mean, you know how that is. Otherwise, we just stand there all day rubbing our heads and petting our bellies too at the same time.
You're right. I love tall folk legends and lore and vocabulary. Y'all have improved my day, and I can only hope I've helped improve yours, even on a dreary day where it just seems like, a part of the city just explodes out of nowhere and catches on magical fire.
Yeah, it has really been just exactly that kind of day. Okay.
Quite.
So thanks very much, and we'll try to come back and bring you good news and good tidings, and we'll see what happens.
You got it. Remember, if you return that burlap sack, there's 4 copper in it for you.
Okay, well, thanks.
All right, so you leave. You leave the shop.
Let's go.
Mordecai. There's pieces and parts in here. Roll an investigation.
All right. Yeah. Investigation.
On the cursory examination, he probably did just give you a bag of junk. There's probably not enough in here that you could just build something straight out of it. But who knows? You might find something.
Is there a copper wire?
There very well could be. I'll tell you what. I'll use the trick that Derek uses on his channel with his game. Do you want highs or lows?
I'll take high.
All right, roll 1d20 for me.
20.
Unfortunately, there's a tin wire, but it's not a copper wire.
Oh well.
Yeah, so, I mean, rock gnomes and forest gnomes we have common heritage, but we've just lived apart so long, and I don't know. I just keep feeling like he's saying never going against a rock gnome when death is on the line.
What?
Just seems, I don't know.
Sometimes we say things that just...
And it's like he's always putting poison in one cup or the other. And then you know how bad that is for me?
This is meta pandering, everyone out there in the audience.
It's reverse pandering today.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's reverse pandering.
Okay. So much for that fourth wall. Okay, so let's go back to the tower and see if it has all 4 walls still standing.
Okay. So time is passing. Then we're gonna cut back over to the jail here. And we have Investigator Stillwaters here with your prisoner, not prisoner,
Suspect.
your suspect that you have taken into an interrogation room. Now, the interrogation room is a little bit more brightly lit than this. It doesn't actually look like a castle dungeon. The background music that you can hear, you can hear the sounds of the city outside. Some people walking by. There's there's horses in the streets and bells and such. People shouting. There's a window here both for ventilation purposes and the fact that you're trying to interrogate someone. And it's a good subtle reminder that freedom could possibly still be theirs if they cooperate. And the sounds of free people in the city are on the other side of that wall. And yet here they are across a very sturdy wooden table from a burly policeman. And so, following the desk sergeant's advice, you go down to the second door on the right, and you enter. Sure enough, it's an interrogation room, as described, and there's 2 chairs and a table.
Well, at this point, yeah, I would end up pulling the seat open for Gwendolyn. Offering her a seat, as I'm pretty sure this is the first time she's actually had a moment to rest herself. The creature she is, I'm not sure if she requires rest, but nevertheless, hospitality.
She looks at the seat, and she looks up at you, and sits, and nods with a low thank you on her lips.
No, think nothing of it. Still, he pulls the seat from the other side of the table. At this point, Gwendolyn, are you capable of keeping yourself under some degree of control?
I'm not as hungry. I still do feel a bit famished.
I'm sorry to hear that.
The need to drink blood is very strong still. I don't look like a prune any longer, and your blood is strong. She kind of like subtly gives a flex, and you just see some muscle ripple underneath her pale skin.
And what you take in has an effect on you, of one sort or another.
Seemingly so.
Well, he quickly makes a note. Oh. That's interesting.
There's a lot that I don't understand yet.
I imagine not. Tell me, Gwendolyn, were you always... You were military before this, correct?
It should be common knowledge that everyone in the Empire was military at some point in their life.
I imagine so, but I'm more ascertaining that this state you find yourself in happened while you were in service, yes?
In service so much that we were protecting supplies. A military-style transport, but not one that was bringing any sort of weaponry or hostility to you in the South.
Implying that the was going to bring hostility or weaponry.
The common perception is that that's what we bring.
And what do you bring?
Supplies.
I mean, it's a long supplies, yes, but supplies, are we talking grain? Are we talking iron? Are we talking spells, for all I know?
It would be supplies for the ships that we have here. Native things that you can't get in the area. Or you could, but the local traders don't trust you.
I imagine it's quite difficult. And yet, what is to be done at this point? And correct me if I'm wrong, but at this point, Mask of Horns has been neutral in this whole endeavor, politically.
Are you asking her this, or are you asking me as your DM this?
I'm asking you. I figure this is something Jacob would know, but I'm not 100% sure.
There hasn't been a formal declaration of war given by either side, though there have been ships disappearing. There have been caravans that have seemingly gone missing when the Shadowhar are about, and there's generally this, they're not from here, and they're imposing, and they're very bold. The people, the culture of the Shadowhar people are that we're here and we're going to do what we're going to do. It's a very straightforward, blunt.
Throw this towards someone's shipping. If it's not divisible cleanly, your use the spare change for something nice. Like an extra tip.
Shukan, thank you for that. I will make sure to abide by the request that went along with that. Yeah, I'll be sure. In fact, what we could do, Shukan, for something nice here, you can step up and become what we call a fickle god, if you'd like, and you could bestow a blessing on, or a curse on a player, or even me as the dungeon master. Because look, I'm in on this too. You all can work. You can work with me, for me, or against me, just as much as you could for a player. So if you want to direct any of that towards the game, you're welcome to do so. Gaming as usual, just curse. So I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure I addressed Shukan for the grateful donation. She was So the presentation, the cultural presentation, and so the fact that they're here and the fact that they're doing things like demanding trade, or they just started showing up, like they would sail into port like they own the place, is seen as aggressive, and it may very well be aggressive, and yet this is really what anyone knows of that culture, as far as anyone can tell with any interaction.
Well, consider this an experiment. And at that point, he takes the manacles off. At least, for the time being, in this room, we are two individuals talking.
Okay, so you get up, and you ask her to stand up so you can undo the manacles behind her back. All right, so you do so. She doesn't move. Very, as a reminder, especially against the background noise. Again, you're hearing the noise of the street. Wagons are coming and going. There's still a lot of murmuring and whatnot, because while we're definitely after the initial impact of the explosion, things are busy, and life doesn't always come to a complete standstill. Especially because you're at a police department, so even outside the door, you're hearing shouting and all this. But as you get close enough and you bend down and you're unlocking the manacles, she's just unnaturally still, and she's not breathing.
It's always a bit unnerving. You can tell a lot of a person from their breath. Still.
Who needs breathing?
You stay out of it, Death Cleric.
But she doesn't make any action.
You end up saying you were sailing alone, correct?
I wasn't alone. The Wild Chowie had a crew.
No, I understand that, but the Wild Cherry was a solo vessel, yes?
We weren't...
A transport for an individual, or as a single ship, not meant to run as a fleet, correct?
Correct.
And you ended up in this condition while you were still at sea?
This is a very purposeful, like she's forcing herself to do this, and yet the expression on her face is this is also unnatural to her. Like she feels like she should do this, and yet she tries, like she kind of like goes for the heave, but then has to remember to manually breathe. I don't fully understand. I was working, and along the line, I was attacked by someone aboard the ship. I thought that perhaps there was ill intent from a sailor, and it turned to be something else, possibly even more terrible.
Possibly. And yet, here you are. Now, that being said, as it stands, I am more focused on trying to get to the bottom of what is happening here. And when I come back, suddenly there is a fireball of sorts, a black flame that was constructed of a tower that wasn't there before. At least not to my knowledge. Now, aside from that happening, your timing is a little odd. Though I very much doubt you had any choice in that matter. So,
Would that I did.
Oh?
Of course, why would I want to be like this?
I don't know. But, you're like that for a reason. I wish there was more of you to speak with. At least then I would know exactly what it is I'm dealing with. Still.
A reason? What and her voice raises, and what reason is there for me to be like this? And she brings her hand down on the table's solid, so there's a good like resounding thump. But what reason do I have to be like this? I never asked for this. I never asked to be attacked by someone that I thought I could trust.
So you knew the individual?
No. But he wore the colors.
I'm going to roll an insight.
She does seem nice 21. She does seem to be very agitated, like legitimately angry. And as you're asking these questions, and it's having an emotional response in her, where especially like this inevitability, and she clearly doesn't like being in this state. And yet here she is.
And her hands, like she's kind of hands down, bang on the table kind of situation at this point as she stood up very aggressively.
Well, actually, she was standing up from when you freed her from the manacles, and she was still. And she, when you said this, she just sort of like, put the one hand down to support herself and brought the fist down on the wooden table with a good solid, rap.
Yeah. So you are strong.
I don't even know where he came from. He was wearing the colors. I thought he was a sailor, like anyone else. I thought I'd know everyone on the Wild Cherry. But apparently I didn't. But where did we pick up another one of our people?
That would be a good question. Implying that there was a reason. Things don't happen at random. Now, they may not happen for reasons we may like, but they don't happen without reason.
She just...
He places a hand on hers to calm her.
And she sits.
You wish to know who did this to you and why? Yes?
I would love to figure it out. Can you help me? Because apparently I don't have what it takes. That's what everyone's been telling me my whole life. Why I went to sea.
I would end up asking yourself one question then. They say that you don't have what it takes. What does that mean? By what measure?
She is going to go a little bit more into Shadowhar culture and societal expectations. Minutia that, I mean, maybe I could write out, but I don't have.
No, it's
here,
okay.
But,
it's okay.
But she'll get into the culture. So
yeah, once she's done that description, he kind of looks back. Well, I'll tell you exactly what this means. At this point, officially, you are, well, I would end up saying that at this point you could be free to go in very near future. I have no reason to detain you any further. And if you want, you can walk right out there into that wonderful sunlight while everybody's panicking and trying to get going. Perhaps you can slip away. You may be able to ferry on ship and go back.
apparently quarrel aboard and do to others what was done to me.
And you see the issue with me letting you go so openly, yes?
In my country, we call this a hot potato.
It is. How we handle the situation is the important thing. So, not speaking as a jailer or an investigator, but as a person to a person.
Jacob, while you're talking to her, make an investigation at advantage, as we are having a little bit of narrative time as she's talking about incidental things, cultural things, and you're trying to put her story together because she can't for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So an 8 or the 25? Which one would you like to take?
I think I'll take the 8. I have good feelings on the 8.
I too like to live dangerously.
I see you turned autocorrect back on. I too like to live degenerate.
So you.
I also like blood regeneration. Thank you.
As she's spilling her guts in quite a metaphorical sense, going on about this, you're picking up some interesting things that she is talking about when it comes to, she'll mention something personal, and then kind of like what we had with Mordecai and Bright, where the gnome there was kind of, talking about, my cousin does this, and, and then, my brother's wife is just, you know how that goes, and so forth and so on. I mean, you're apparently every culture does this because you're getting a Shadowhar version of this. And of course, you and Green Shield, you do the same thing in a different way, and so forth and so on. So it's a very interesting moment where you're in the presence of a great enemy, perhaps even like a double enemy, because not only is she she from the Shadowhar Empire, but she's also this undead creature, and yet you're getting these very expressive human moments from her. And as she's talking about her job on the ship, and she's talking about things that have happened, you're piecing some things together where they had received supplies at sea from a smaller ship when they were sailing closer to shore. And this is a supply ship, so they didn't think anything more of it. In fact, the people who came out in this small, like a converted riverboat, were even wearing like Shadowhar colors. And they loaded a bunch of crates and other cargo onto the ship before turning around and heading back to shore. So none of the people from that ship that loaded it with cargo ended up staying aboard. And so it turned around and went back, and of course the Wild Cherry continued on its path.
Would I be able to be told exactly where the pickup was? Would I be able to find that said location? That would be important information.
Are you proficient at all with like cartographer's tools, navigator's tools, or anything like that?
No, but just them having a reference point. They had to stop for a reason.
Sure.
Suffice it to
we'll
say.
Oh, go ahead.
So just to give you my train of thought here, if vampires are a thing, and this is how they're smuggling in, they're not actually coming in from Shadowheart, they're being picked up elsewhere, and that's kind of their interjection, or that's how they're injecting themselves. That gives us where the injection point is. That gives us a point of investigation. That gives us a point to end up going that we can say on the map, this is where we need to go. And if we want to get to the bottom of this, here's a place to start snooping.
The basic description would have been somewhere out here. Now, of course, on this map, the city would be like the size of 3 counties, so that's not necessarily to scale. That would just be like the territory where the city sits. But she's describing it happening over here. Or no, I'm sorry. It would have happened a little bit further south, since they were sailing with in regards to Old Port. And then she said, after a couple nights, there was, she was working on her shift, and someone she didn't recognize came up to her and attacked her and several other people aboard the ship. And not that long afterwards was ultimately the possession of the ship by the Man-O-Wars that came under the influence of the monster.
Was this individual also attacked by this same Man-O-Wars, or did it just allow this to happen?
The person who attacked her?
No, the Man-O-Wars. When the Man-O-Wars took the vessel, did this individual who was responsible for this react the same way? Were they being encased in goo and all that,
yes,
or were they just kind of letting this happen?
Yes, others who were attacked as well, and the Man-O-Wars were having everyone for dinner, effectively, making them succumb to their influence and their puppetry. The ship was shattered by a monster, and most of the people were being carried away. Once she entered this kind of state inside the Man-O-War, though, she really lost any kind of sense of self or time or feeling, like physical feeling or emotional feeling. She was just kind of a conduit, just kind of going along for the ride in a very like uncomfortable stasis of sorts.
Well, Gwendolyn, I did end up asking earlier, which you hesitated to give, a last name and rank. Is there a reason for that? I understand. That's why I didn't press for it further until we could at least get you out of sunlight.
I mean...
Shut up!
Oh no, it's just the honesty from her. It's like, well, at least she's being honest.
You said that everybody said you wouldn't measure up. As far as I am concerned, somebody should be acknowledged by their rank and title. It is earned. It is a place. And whatever you may think of your own personal value has no bearing on what title you currently hold, be you breathing or not. God, I suck at this.
That's not terrible. Oof. He's like,
Anyway,
that could be right.
thank you very much, Miss Wendell and Quam. So, here is my proposal, if you would hear it. As a free woman of the Shadowhar Empire, it would be dangerous for you to end up walking around unsupervised. You going back, well, I can see there being some trust issues at this current moment in time. My intention is, at this point, to end up going to that tower and figure out exactly what is going on in that regard. I believe that you can perform quite a service in the assistance of that, and I do, in fact, need a sidearm, a soldier. You serve a better purpose than that. Now, I would like to take you on under my wing, and hopefully we can end up getting the answers you seek. I have the sneaking suspicion that they will benefit more than just yourself. I'll take a nat 20.
Matty, you're muted.
Oh, whoops. Haha. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. Thankfully, my frantic gesturing was probably giving a clue away. Anyway, so yeah, if for anyone out there, if I was muted, Derek rolled a 20 on his persuasion with a -1, but still, you know what? That's the best he can do. I'm gonna give him a reward for the best possible outcome that Jacob could have had in this situation here. And so, you know, she's thinking. You listen to her. You put clues together. She was looking for answers. I mean, maybe you didn't express them, but in your own mind, I mean, again, we're kind of, you're doing this for a couple hours. You're having this conversation and, you know, back and forth. And so she's contemplating, quos. I need quos.
Then we will acquire them.
I would also acquire some other things, too. If you do trust me.
I am extending an olive branch, and trust is something to be earned. But in order for it to be earned, it first must be given opportunity to grow.
Is trust a euphemism for the gold pieces you have in your pocket, too? I'd like to earn a couple of those.
I suppose a wage of sorts can be discussed. To be fair, you don't exactly have a high cost of living. He smiles at her.
That's why I won't ask for much. And she actually cracks a smile back and then feels the lip kind of like go over the fang and kind of quickly scrunches her mouth again.
Smile. It's all right. It's the smile that keeps you being a person. A ends up standing, placing the manacles back at his hip, double checking the key is back on the ring.
Yeah.
Well then, since I haven't gone shopping since my sister was up to my knee, we'll have to end up going out. Let us find something quick to wear. And if you will accompany me, I would appreciate, Miss Kwam, if you would end up coming with me on the investigation. And in doing so, I promise I will give as I can, so long as you do not end up succumbing into becoming this monster they whisper about. But to be Miss Kwam, if you can continue to do that, we have an accord.
You have permission to pronounce my name as you would in your local language. I've always had a thing for southern accents.
Very well, then, Miss Kwam. He extends a hand, take her from the table, and escort her out.
Say it one more time for me.
Miss Kwam.
Ooh. How exotic. Now, I have one question for you, Investigator Jacob Stillwaters. Do you like seafood?
On occasion.
Good. That's what I'm having for dinner. I hope you can pony up for something delicious.
We'll find out.
And... Oh, go ahead.
He escorts her out. And he keeps an eye on front desk officer Useless. See on what he's skipping on this time.
Okay, well, I mean it's busy. He's still trying to direct people in because the hallway had been ruckusy. Outside people are still there's been no other like emergency bells and whatnot. It's not that life is normal again here in Mask of Horns, but we're not in an emergency situation. So, with the implication that you're going to eat seafood for her so that she can consume your blood later, we're going to kind of have a fade away to you going on a shopping trip, and we're going to go over to Selene, who has been... Oh, snap! Journeyman here is hosting with 22 viewers. My goodness. And just in time for all you fans of Journeyman's brand of cool and creepy, we're going to an ossuary of Ouijas, who is a goddess of death and magic and many things. The beauty, the beauty in death, the finality, the sovereignty, depending on your flavor. Anyway, as we've been discovering this campaign. But yeah, so thank you very much for coming over, J-Man and friends. Unless again I'm speaking into the ether and y'all are trapped in an ad purgatory. Lost forever, or 40 seconds at least. Hey, there we go. There's an awoo from J-Man. Bum-ba-da-bum. Alright, I'm going to give a little reciprocation here. Dun-dun-dun. Where's an awoo? There we go. Alright. So, Selene, most of your day has been administering to the wounded, physically, even the wounded emotionally, as after the wave of people who've come in that have physical injuries, very gruesome. Some have, you've had to escort people into the, into death, as well as try and pull ones back from the brink. There's many more who are coming, both in search. Have you seen my cousin? Like, he should have been here. He's very faithful. Would have come by. So there's kind of like a who's missing board, or have you seen? And there's others who are coming in as the day is going on, who are seeking, why has this happened? How does this fit into Ouija's plan? This is magical, and even people that perhaps don't revere this goddess, but are coming because they're upset, and so they're, this is their entrance into the church, saying, like, what, you all study magic, you should know what's going on, what's happening here, we want answers, I lost so-and-so in that explosion. And so there's also some psychological remedy to be applied, not just physical remedies as well.
Oh, I get to play doctor. How wonderful.
So you are a doctor of body, mind, and spirit here, as everyone who's available has been called in, and especially too because looting has happened outside the city, of course, as this is an opportunity for many sticky fingers to not just take things that interesting things that have spilled out of the tower, but also with as many people that have come here seeking curative and answers. It would seem that, medicine cabinets and maybe even a couple artifact, like not like artifacts, like this is the skull of Ouija's level artifact kind of a thing. But we're talking, we're talking the gold plate you pass around at service. We're talking, things that are valuable, but they're not, they're not legendary tier magic items, or that are linked with the goddess herself, or Saint so and so of the who's it what's it period.
They're important, but they're not like important.
Yeah, these are petty thefts of opportunity in a religious establishment. So
yeah.
So there you go. So yeah, things have turned up missing. But yet the administrations continue. The concept of Ouija's and death and magic and the endurance and the study of life and even loss, you can easily turn this into a lesson on, this is what life is about. You gather stuff and you lose stuff, including your life, etc., etc. So anyway, you've been administering here, and as you have been, you received notice that we'd referred to the person you're looking for as the high priest. We'll give it a little bit more flavor than that. And so this is the revealer. The revealer is going to be the title of the head honcho, the boss, the one in charge here. Revealer Snowhon, Snohon, Snowhon.
Snowhon.
Yes. She is human, and I mean presumably a follower of Ouija's. I'd hope so. Otherwise, she's going for the long con. But Revealer Snowhon has come back with Assessor Abynia, Abynnea, and a team that was out to do just that, to study this magical effect, to try and find answers, while consulting each other and investigating and working among any that they find. But with you in the state that you're in, because you certainly have... wait, do you have the prestidigitation cantrip?
I do not. No.
Okay.
I wish I could grab it. I do have thaumaturgy, so I've got the divine equivalent.
Well, you're covered in.
I did want to actually have a chat with you, probably off camera about possibly picking up adding some spells to Selene's spell list for a little bit of flavor.
Okay,
once particular things come around.
We'll have a side chat.
Yeah.
But until then, so you're asked to go clean up as you. And this isn't an insult to you. You certainly look like you've been working all day. I mean, you're kind of frazzled. You have all sorts of humors over your robes. We'll put it delicately. Because you've seen your fair share of breaks and and people upset and screaming, so you have spittle and all this other stuff. So you're asked to go and clean up, as your presence will be told to the revealer, and she will see you. She will see you in a while. So until then, eat and clean up, and you're going to be shown to a place where you can do so in the establishment.
Yes, I will. I will do that. I really should try and pick up prestidigitation. So I usually play a class that's always got it on the spell list, and
not
I
a
always
cleric
take
spell.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a cleric spell. Instead,
Alright.
I usually play classes that have it on their spell list, and I usually grab it because it's just so versatile for the small stuff.
Kazimir is also relieved of his duty and is led to another place that he can go and clean up, and also be offered a reward by the faith for his services, as was promised to him. But so you go to another area that is deeper in this ossuary here. You pass by uncounted skulls, yet each one of them are revered. And of course, there's always rumors or legends that if not the revealer, then there's someone out there that actually knows the names of each of them, of each of the skulls. Now you do find, however, that the skulls all have their lower jaw removed. So
That is not so that is probably not all that surprising, considering it is so that the dead may not speak and reveal their secrets.
The layfolk probably just consider it to be an aesthetic, but for those in the faith, there's probably a practical purpose to that, as you were implying. So yeah, you walk past just countless skulls and other bones made into beautiful decorations. All of them here, they haven't been, decapitated in wars and taken as trophies. These are people who, over the generations, have given their lives. And of course, you're seeing no shortage of tiefling bones. And so you're seeing, beautiful horns on display. You're seeing tailbones that are capable of making like beautiful weaving patterns. Sort of like almost like a twisting helix going up a column. And so you're finding all manner of people who have given themselves in the faith. And the further into this part you go, the older the bones get. Not that they're like molding or bad, but it's just there's been, with people who've died, the place has expanded out. You've had more people who wanted to be a part of something that is bigger than them and more eternal than them, in a physical sense, even in a post-death sense. So yeah, you go back, you bathe. I mean, if you want cold water, you can have it. You can have hot water, but effectively you're left alone for a while, and modest food and drink will be brought to you. So a loaf of warm bread, a cup of wine, and even some butter to go with it. And is there anything in this sort of mini downtime before you meet the revealer that you would like to say or do? Kasimir's not with you.
Yep. No, I'll just very quickly check over, sure that I am all covered up, because the only people who will who have leave to see my true nature currently is the revealer and the assessor.
All right. So in this moment, you're taken to this kind of private bath area. You are left alone. Plenty of candles on the interior here, especially now that it's getting dark. Your robes, your dirty, bloody robes fall away, and of course, there you are with yourself, as you are. You can take that reflection in for a moment. You look at your hand, and no muscles, yet it flexes. No skin, yet you can feel the bone.
Any normal person should be very freaked out by this, but Selene just finds it somewhat comforting, but also a curiosity of herself. Is probably the best way to look at it.
Okay. You dip into the bath, and it's maybe a little odd that, not that you haven't been afflicted and subjected to water in any way, but here maybe it's just you can stop and breathe for a moment, or it could just be that energy of this place as you are within an inner cloister in a very holy place to you. But just, the bath water kind of comes up and you feel it go down the bones of your hand, and you're feeling it on the bones. No pain. It's beautiful, gentle, and warm. You get the scent of the soap that you've been given to scrub up, and interesting.
It is quite. I'll have to make a note of it. But now I shall clean up and probably get if there is another mage nearby, which there probably would be. After I've bathed and gotten changed, I might get my robes prestidigitated to get that done and out of the way, considering I cannot do it myself. I wish I could.
It's like going to your local gnomish dry cleaner or something, then.
Yeah, local gnomish dry cleaner. Hey, Brad, have you guys thought about setting up a dry cleaning business? You'd make a mint.
So you are, new robes have been presented to you. They're very, they're not robes of station. They're like a tier above acolyte. Like, you're recognized as clergy. There's no fancy frills or any sort of extra, anything extra to them. I presume you're keeping your mask, though?
Yes.
Okay. So you eat, and again, through the eating and the exploration, because you're missing, as it goes down, you're eating food, you swallow, and yet, it's not like the food spills out the side of your neck either. Like, you eat with your mouth, you swallow, and your body is doing what it does to food. Just a moment of reflections. Anyway, so you get dressed and you put that back on, and you indicate, you crack the door and you indicate that you're ready. And after a short while, an acolyte, a trainee, will take you from this inner, the private bathing area for the monks and the other administrators and clerics of this place. And you are led to a very nice chamber with even more exquisite and beautiful decorations. And as you make your way past a guarded area, there are officiants of the church who are very overt. It's glamorous armor. It's still functional, but it has a lot of style to it. But as you're passing through an armed area, and not that it's probably armed also because of the robberies, but it has people a little tense. You make your way through the guarded area, and now that you are in an inner chamber, it's decorated in mostly the same fashion, though the exception is the skulls that are here all have their jaws still attached, and they are they're in different formations, still beautiful and artistic, but different patterns. And all of them, similar to the photo above, seem to be just gazing at this, calling it it's not an altar, it's not a desk. It's a very fancy personal desk with religious overtones to it as well. Is in the center where all these skulls seem to point. And there's a woman who is behind the desk. Are you gonna come up, bud? Come on. Her long black hair is kind of flowing down as it looks like she is writing something. And you, without lifting her head, simply come in.
And she would bow and enter.
You make your way in, sit down. Sorry, one moment. And she's continuing to scribble, and taking a not that you have to glance if you don't wish to, but even just a casual out of your periphery, it's not so much that she is writing, but she seems to be drawing. She's drawing with ink and pen. And the scenes are the scenes are that of a tower that's on fire, scenes of things that perhaps flames or other magical effects. She's doing an excellent job despite a simple quill and ink. But you're getting these renditions of perhaps what's been going outside or what she's seen. And she sets the quill in a holder and pushes things to the side, lifts her head back, and you do see that you have an older woman who is, I said she was human, and she does have a compassionate face, but one set with that kind of 1,000-yard stare. Like, she's looking through people. She can see into them and through them and past them, to their core or beyond their core to their end. Just someone who has seen much in her life. But still a little bit of gentleness to the eyes, a little bit of understanding, not a cold stare.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself.
I am Selene, a member of the clergy, or the first time I have actually been within a proper ossuary. My clerical training was more of the solituous type.
Less concerned with where you received your training. What set you on this path, Selene?
I was once a surgeon, much as I still am, but my desire to know more about the nature of the mortal coil and those who would shuffle from it.
I see. Death touches everyone from all stations of birth, as you well know. And you have proven yourself to be able to navigate its waters with your service here. Though, from what I understand, there's more to you than what it is that I see. And I would ask that you remove your mask in my presence, as I don't believe that if the dead can hold no secrets, neither should the living.
She is like, as you wish, and she will remove her mask.
I see. She keeps that level face. I see. Well, Selene, it would appear that you've been visited by death on more than one occasion.
You could say that, yes.
I just did. I can't have a sense of humor despite my station. And she, after seeing this, she's even, she kind of gives that sigh of relief and sits back down in her chair. Please, have a seat.
She nods and she will.
Contemplates you. Show me. More than your face, correct? To what
And
is
she
the
holds up
extent
her.
of your blessing?
She holds up her hand, the skeletal hand, which has the symbol of Ouija's ever burned into it.
I see. Well, perhaps the events of the tower and everything else would lead to something like this happening, and
Oh,
I'm
this happened
frankly not
long before
surprised.
that. Long before the tower.
This has happened before, you are correct. It seems that you are the current bearer of this blessing? I'm not so sure. I can read what others have written about it, but, well, to see it from my own eyes is refreshing, especially after the day that I've had.
A
Well,
blessing and a curse come in equal measure. It is simply the thought of the one who looks upon it.
such is the same thin line between medicine and poison. You may not have had formal training, but I can understand that you are aware of the concepts that we follow and practice. And so, to that end, and the way that I'm carrying this is very much how she is as well. She's not hung up on you being partially skeletonized. She's taken note of it. It seems to be, oh, all right, well, yep, all right, got it. But she's continuing on in a very measured pace. She does seem rather worn from an entire day of doing what she's doing, let alone you, who got the chance to bathe and eat and such, but... Well, with you here, then... perhaps there are things that we can share with each other in order to enlighten and bring an understanding, an ever greater understanding of life, its beginning and end around us. And can I count on you? Just Selene, or I'm sorry, do you have a family name?
I do not, no. It's just Selene.
You're from Aslandia, aren't you?
Correct.
An orphan? Were you given up by the elves? For who you are?
An orphan? No. Or like... more a disownment.
And yet you found the strength to strike out into the world.
From a young age, I have had what some would call morbid fascination with the concept of death. Not that I would kill things, but I would look at the dead and decaying bodies of small creatures, things like lizards and the like. And this fascination that I had scared my parents so much so that as soon as I was able to properly fend for myself in the world, they disowned me. And as such, I set out to learn as much as I could, first turning to the medical profession, and then to the faith.
When you finish that sentiment, there is a skull above you that begins clattering its jaws. And it just sounds just like a clatter. And the revealer looks up, gives a nod. Opinions from the peanut gallery, I suppose you could say. Well then, if one of you spoke, the rest of you, and one by one, more skulls begin to chatter. And it does appear that they're having a conversation with each other, and that this headmistress, this high priest, this revealer, she's paying some attention. Occasionally will give a sage-like nod, and others she'll roll her eyes or give a dismissive like two fingers, just whatever.
Yeah.
And this will go on for a little while till she says, "All right, you've had your say. Quiet now." They can be very chatty. I'm sorry for the interruption. As you've surmised, we are not alone here. Frankly, there is nowhere in this place where one is truly alone. The spirits are always with us.
The dead keep eternal vigil and speak quite often. It is simply that there are many, many people out there who do not know how to listen.
Well, if you're up for the evening, as am I, and I have my notes in front of me, I believe that we are going to be burning some midnight oil together, just Selene. And what I would like to do is, not kind of a fade to black, but I want to get up and take a break, and we can come back as, you know, you've all been having at different points during the day interactions and such, and then we can come back and resolve more of them. But let's get up and take 10 minutes to stretch, use the restroom, do what you got to do, and then we'll come back to it.